Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today I am building something inspired by The Legend of Zelda. I love Tears of the Kingdom. It's a pretty epic game, and in there, along with Breath of the Wild, there are tons of these little creatures called Koroks. And Koroks get tortured by a lot of players in the game. Strapping rockets to them, building torture devices, all kinds of randomness. It seems pretty mean and kind of funny at the same time, but I thought I would build something to pay homage to the mild-mannered, friendly Korok. And this is where I kind of wanted to pull back the curtain. The build's already done. It's sitting behind me right there. I don't know if you realize this or not, but usually when I do intros and outros, the build's already done. I wanted to kind of set this video up as a demonstration of how failure should not stop you. I know you didn't expect for it to get that deep that quick, but I failed multiple times on this project, trying different stuff that I've never tried before, and it utterly messing up. So I thought I would kind of just show you the process that I went through to stumble through my failure to an end result, not letting the mess up stop it. So yeah, today we are going to build a Korok themed whatever out of foam and some other stuff. Let's get to building. So I started off this build with an idea to make a faux stained glass window using acrylic sheets, UV resin, and some alcohol markers. I found a stained glass pattern that I liked, found a Korok image that I liked, and combined the two in Microsoft Paint, and then converted it to an SVG with a free to use website. Then it was just a matter of letting my Glowforge do its thing. Initially, I thought about doing a Wednesday version of this, but the Korok take felt like a little bit more of an original idea, so I went with it. Parts of this will be out of order, so I can show you the mess up all at the beginning and how I recovered. Instead of my normal facts, I thought it would be nice to put a couple of quotes from smarter people than me about overcoming failure. Once the laser had done its business, I pulled it out of the machine and began popping off the bits. It did cut all the way through the acrylic, but for some reason it didn't make it through this thin layer of tape on the backside, so I had to help it out. I removed the protective tape from both sides and gave it a quick sanding. This piece that I am working on will not make it in the final build. I probably spent a good 5 or 6 hours working on the design, prepping it, cutting it, painting it, and pouring resin into it. Needless to say, you can feel my pain about what's happening in the next couple of clips. So I started the whole resin thing by securing the underside of the pane to a thin sheet of plastic. I put the resin on it, laid the plastic down, and then hit it with a UV light to cure it. Make sure to wear protective eyewear when using the UV light because it can mess your eyes up while looking at it. I'm combining these clips so that you can see the whole mess a little bit quicker. Like I said, it was like a 5 or 6 hour mess up. I put down the resin into the recesses to raise the level up and add a bit of unevenness to kind of make it a little bit more like stained glass. Once I had cured everything with the light, I colored in each segment with alcohol markers. I used the ones I bought from an art set Jazza was selling a while back on YouTube. The cover on the resin was very faint with markers, so I switched over to some resin dye that I had on hand. I don't know if it was a mix of the alcohol markers and the dye, or if I didn't mix the resin good enough with the dye, but it pushed the dye into the sides when I hit it with the UV light. This didn't bond with the underlayer and it made an unusable sticky mess. Here is the out of order part. After I sanded and hit the surface of my pane with Rub and Buff, I started working on the surrounding enclosure. This would be holding the pane and give me a place to put LED lights in with some diffusion foam to make it look like a stained glass window without the window. The acrylic sheet remains, made for the perfect stencil to push my blade against through the 4mm foam. Once I cut it out, then I made about a 3-inch or so band around the cut. I didn't make a template for any of this because I was just kind of freestyling as I went, making it up, and the frame basically fits the dimensions of my pane with room for embellishments around it. I cut out a couple of strips of 10mm foam the thickness of my ruler and glued those to the sides. I added 15mm half dowel rounds over the edges to cover seams and some more strips here and there to give some extra interest. I went back to the computer and drew up some Korok mask designs and a few little clip art shaped leaves to act as the details that would go around the frame face. I could have burned in the face details on the smaller bits, but it would have taken a lot longer for the laser to engrave all of these tiny little bits, so I figured I'd just do that part by hand. With a respirator on my face and a wood burner in my hand, I began burning little faces on all 48 small leaves that I had cut out. It went relatively quick and gave me a chance to make each of them unique. Be careful when working with a wood burner on foam, especially on something this small. They get really hot and you can easily burn your skin very quickly. It also lets off some nasty fumes that you don't want to breathe in, hence the respirator. I also plug in an air purifier right beside me while I'm burning foam. After I was finished with all of them, I superglued them into the recesses of the face of the frame. No real rhyme or reason to my layout, just making it random, trying to space out my 3 different sizes I cut and trying not to put similar shapes right next to each other. Mostly, I'm just trying to cram as many as I can in the recessed area. The frame was ready for 2 coats of Plasti Dip. I decided to go with a metallic copper/gold with maybe some silver accents paint scheme here. That was my initial plan with the faux stained glass center panel. I still had not messed up at this point, and I wanted the frame to match the paint. I just dabbed a little of the bronze Resin buff on my plate and took a nasty old chip brush to haphazardly slap some metallic wax paint all over the place. I mixed in some copper and some gold and eventually added random silver details here and there. I wasn't really feeling this color scheme, so I thought I would give it a nice patina. Maybe that'll fit a little bit better. I dabbed on some light green, light blue, and a little white all over the rim. I started with the green and used a chip brush to kind of stipple it on, then switched over to a sponge for the lighter blue, and for the white I watered it down, tilted the frame up, and let it drip down the sides. This is right before the resin debacle, so I still had high hopes of my vision being pulled off. crap, I failed. My plan didn't work, and here I am on a Thursday night with half a build done and I'm running out of time. I know I don't have to put out a video every week. It's not like I'm disappointing a sponsor or have a boss to answer to for this, but it doesn't make the stress any less. I gave myself about 30 minutes to sit and breathe, thinking of plan B. I don't have materials to try different stained glass approaches at this point, and I don't have time to restart and do a completely different build. It's all starting to sink in and it's stressing me out. I decided to pivot instead. I can make it into a sign or a diorama or something, so I make a tray for stuff to sit in. Still don't have any ideas solidified yet. I'm just kind of building as I go. This is made out of some 10mm foam. I'm fairly good and quick at carving foam blocks into stuff, so I thought, why not just carve a Korok? I can cut the backside of the block at an angle so that it looks like he's leaning out over the frame and give a little bit of dimension. I felt paralyzed when it all went wrong, and now I'm just not even giving myself time to stress out. The idea really isn't fully fleshed out yet, but it doesn't really matter at this point. I just have to do something. Coming up with these builds that are not based on anything definitely have their challenges, but at the same time it also allows for freedom to improvise. I cut the foam into a basic shape of a Korok, round off the edges, and then carve in some grooves into him. What is a Korok without a mask? A stick with eyes and a mouth and a nose, I guess. I pick one of the basic shapes that the Koroks wear for their mask, which is basically a leaf with holes cut in it. Then I draw it onto this 8mm foam with a Sharpie and cut it out. Just like I did with the body, I round over the edges, cut in some grooves, and then glue it to the Korok. I also add a nose and a branch off his forehead because some of them have random sticks sticking out of their faces. I plasti dip it all, then hit the Korok body with a light brown spray paint. Most of them have like a two-tone body with stripes or swirls on them, so I'm painting a darker brown to add that detail. Once my body is done, I then paint the red mask, going darker in the grooves and hitting the segments in between them with a lighter red. I was trying to think of what could be in the background, and I remembered I had a bunch of random moss packets from the hobby store that I bought a while back. Some have adhesive backs that can act as a base layer, and others can be hot glued on top to give a little more interest. I pile it in, just making sure to not cover the edges or go too high. Once all covered, I contact cement them into place on the inside of the frame. It still feels like it needs something to give it just a little bit more dimension. Like I said in the intro, people love to mess with Koroks in the game. Launching them with rockets, contraptions, or using them as tires all come to mind. So I thought, why not make this into a piece about saving Koroks? I roughed up some old fabric, cool kid points if you can tell me what build this was used for down in the description, picked 2 random sticks from my backyard, and made a banner for the little guy to hold. I sloppily put Save a Korok across it with a white paint marker and hot glued it into place. And with that, I am calling this failure a cute last minute save of a project, hopefully. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Overall, it turned out okay. Definitely not what I was going for. I wanted that stained glass that I could turn on and it instantly transform a wall into kind of a homage to the blessed Korok. But setbacks after setbacks, and then time constraints to put out a video every week. Sometimes I have to pivot quickly or completely trash a build and try and do something else, which is not always the easiest thing, especially when I'm finishing this build late Thursday night. So yeah, hopefully you learn from this that failure is not the end result. Failure is a part of the process. Not everybody that you see here on YouTube or on social media is perfect. We make mistakes. The part that's a little bit misleading is that we edit out most of those. And I just wanted to kind of highlight and show you that you can mess up but still make something that's pretty cool, or you can learn from the process and build something better the next time. So yeah, maybe we'll try and build something like this and hopefully not mess up and it be exactly what you want the first time. It'd be nice. Maybe you'll get some. Yay! And inevitably, they're gonna ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these, tell them, much props. I need to go put this somewhere so it encourages people to be a little bit nicer to Koroks, because all they want's a little help. Maybe a hug. Peace out. If you enjoy what I do here on YouTube and want to see more builds like this one, please consider joining these awesome people listed here with me over on my Patreon to build a bigger, better, more creative community together.